You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.fm network. Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom, and we are right now in hour number 2, second hour of the show. As you know, we talk about guns, news, Second Amendment, and of course training, because this show is not just about talking, it's about doing it. You know, one of my goals of this show is to pretty much try to reach out, not just, of course, people that they don't know enough about guns, and maybe they want to be informed, and maybe try to understand that this is a right, like any other thing. The Second Amendment, it's a right. But also, from the tactical and the training point of view, my goal would be, or my dream would be, to have every law-abiding citizen, wherever we are, in this state, in this county, in this country, I don't care, every law-abiding citizen as a human being that pretty much is committing himself or herself to defend good against evil, to be trained. And that's why in this show I want to always bring you the professionals. You know, I'm not a pro. That means I don't teach. I don't do this for a living. I try to be a very, let's say, a professional student. That's my goal, to be educated as much as I can. Now, in the past I brought you pretty much almost every type of opportunity, you know, from Front Sight, Firearm Institute in Pahrump, Nevada. Then I brought you Gun Sight. Then I brought you, of course, also Chuck Taylor, one of the top gun instructors in the world. And then, of course, I really love when I find great people like Jim here, that now we will bring it back right now in a few seconds on the show, especially when we talk about local opportunity in Mojave County, Arizona, to learn. You don't need to go to all the way to Gun Sight or Front Sight, or maybe driving for many hours. If you live in Mojave County or in the Lake Havasu area, I found a great opportunity really with Jim Liesen. And I think it's great, because at the end of the day, I don't care where you train. All I care that you train and you do the best you can to be the better person you can when it comes down to safety and, of course, also marksmanship. Jim Liesen, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you, Luca.
Thank you very much for coming back. And long time not talking to you. Last time we were talking about different topics, and you always bring a lot of good, makes sense, information. That's what you do for a living. Can you please remind us the name of the company that pretty much your business, the way you train people? What is the name of your company?
Well, I appreciate that. It's called Apex Arms, and we're a firearms training company. I'm also an FFL, so we can do firearms transfers and stuff, but our passion is in training people, particularly beginners and intermediate level. We find that the safety issues don't have to sound dry and out of a can. Safety issues are good for people because they not only do they keep them safe, but it gives people the confidence they need to know that they can go out to the range and be safe, and they don't have to worry. And when you remove the worry factor, the confidence goes way up, and the ability to do goes way up.
Perfect. Now, I wanted to talk to you, and more important, I wanted to share with the listeners a couple of important topics. First of all, we know very well, most of the times, law-abiding citizens, they don't go around walking with a gun in their hands, unless you know that you're expecting trouble. Your gun is in a safe place. That would be the holster for me, okay? So the moment that I see many people at the range, they think that they can shoot confidently just because they have the gun in their hand, and they can pretty much think they can deliver a couple shots in the right place on the target. But that's not exactly what's going to happen in the real life. Most of the real life scenario, if you're a concealed carry or if you're open carry, like we can do also in Arizona, or constitutional carry, whatever, your gun is going to be in your holster, or at least in a place that you keep as safe with you. So we talk about the presentation today, how to present the gun into a fight. What do you think about this? You think it's a good topic? Is an important topic, this one?
That's an excellent idea, Luca. You hit the nail on the head. Most people think they know how to shoot because that's all they've ever done, is they go to the range and they load up and they blast a few downrange so they know they shoot. But that's not what self-defense is all about. And you talk about the presentation. The presentation is a sequence of events of getting the gun out of its holster and presenting to the target. Or to whatever you need to do, to the ready position or to the target to deliver shots downrange. And in a self-defense situation, everything's going on very, very quickly. Adrenaline's starting to flow. You're being attacked, so you're caught off guard. You might even be caught in condition white or yellow. We've talked about the color codes of awareness before. But if that were to happen, you need to have a muscle memory that allows you to grab your gun, get it into action, and employ the use of that firearm as soon as possible. And if you don't practice the presentation properly, it can be a very dangerous proposition.
Yes.
So I think it's an excellent topic for today.
Yeah, and this is one of the first things really when I attended my first class at Frontsight a few years ago. I really was impressed because, as you know, you don't know things that you don't know until somebody show it to you that you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You thought, okay, I have a gun, I can hit the target, I'm pretty cool. No, that's just not even scratching the surface, especially if you carry a gun in a professional and responsible way. Because the moment that I see that most accidents may happen, it's exactly that transition from your holster or from your concealed place. And I would say, if you carry a gun professionally and safely, the most accurate place or the fastest place where you can deliver the gun into a fight is from your side holster, okay? Not from a bag or purse or things like that. But regardless, realize that there is the technique to learn. It is not just something, okay, let me just grab this gun and boom. Probably you're going to shoot yourself into your hand, or maybe it's going to take you 3 seconds before even you find your holster. That's the problem, So let's start from the beginning. As much as we can, we have limitations, of course. We are just doing some sort of idea show where we want to give them some ideas that this is not going to be a substitute for a real lesson, okay? But at least to show to the listeners that maybe they never done a correct presentation with their handgun, that they need to look into this. Let's put it this way. Yeah. I want just to create some curiosity, and maybe people can investigate, do some researches, maybe do a class with you just about this, just a couple hours. They would do it, to give you a good foundation. So let's start. First of all, we need a holster, correct?
Yes, we need a holster.
I see some people that they like to carry holster in different parts of the body. Maybe depends on what type of profession they do. Let's say truck drivers, maybe they like it on, on the cross draw, different ways. But there is according to science, this is not just an opinion, what is the safest and the faster place where you can pretty much keep your holster? And
well, I follow this particular process myself. I'm a professional, so I'm in an office setting most of the time, and I find that my preferred spot on my body is at what we call the 3 o'clock position, or over the right hip, so that the barrel is actually right down the seam of the side of my pants, right on the side.
Perfect.
A lot of people prefer it around the corner a little bit further, more around the corner, meaning like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. 6 would be right behind you. But a lot of people prefer that position because it's the quickest location to reach with the right hand. And I'm right-handed. Obviously, it'd be the same thing on the left if you're left-handed. My preferred method of carry is an inside-the-waistband holster.
Okay.
A little faster holster would be a little bit more exposed, or a hip or an outside holster. So we all have to answer the first question, which holster is good for me? And once we make that selection, and like you're about to say there, Luca, the best holster, the fastest holster is an outside-the-waistband holster, comfortable to reach with your strong side hand or your shooting hand.
Exactly. And of course, if you want to conceal, you're still able to conceal, wearing the right garment, the right jacket, whatever you need, shirt. But my point is, the main focus was also that whatever position you choose, you should stick with that, because of course your muscle memory is going to pretty much determine under stress what you're going to do. But also another thing, I see some situations, like for example at the range, and I'm kind of disturbed sometimes, that for example they do some two shooters, they like to do this cross holster, and that's, if, as I said at the beginning, if somebody is a truck driver, has some specific reason to do it, that's fine. But in a situation that could be the ideal world, I don't think that's the safest way, and you can articulate better than me on this one. For also safety reason, when you have a cross-draw holster, what happens?
Well, you've got a muzzle violation issue. You may not know where the muzzle is pointing if you can't keep an eye behind you.
Yeah. And also, if you want to go from a tactical point of view, you have more space to cover, and it's going to take always a little faster, a little longer than just a straight hip holster like we were talking before, correct?
Yes, and also with these cross-draw style or the shoulder holster style, the chances of you muzzling your opposite arm as you pull the gun into action, as you swing it forward, the chances for you to muzzle your own brachial artery in your arm goes way up, and that's a safety issue.
Perfect. So now, just to recap, guys, you do what you want, but listeners, this is what we're talking about. It's our opinion, also based on facts. Okay. So if we could have an ideal gun owner that carries the gun in a safe way and also tactical way to be ready to present this gun into a fight in a very short time and on top safe, that would be the hip holster. Okay.
Yep.
And then at that point, if you want to do a special holster inside your waistband, that's fine. Otherwise, you go outside. Now, quality of the holster, we discussed that at the time. The bottom line is what is really bad, and I really see when somebody is still doing this, means that doesn't have really much of knowledge about it, is the floppy Velcro holster. They're kind of a disaster, in my opinion, as a safety issue. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
No, you're absolutely right. We like to call them universal holsters, because they universally fit almost every gun, but they work universally poorly. They don't work at all on any good gun. They don't work well on any gun. And what it really is it's discouraging. If you buy a $10 holster that works with every gun you own, it's going to be floppy, it's going to snag on everything you deal with, it's going to be exposed all the time, and it doesn't work the way it needs to. It doesn't hold the gun properly.
Exactly.
So every time you reach for your gun, it's going to be in a slightly different position. You're going to be worrying about it. It's just a disaster all the way around.
Perfect. So that's the foundation, guys. We have
get a good holster. This has to do with what's your life worth. We're going to use quality ammunition in a quality firearm. Spend money on a quality holster.
We are not talking about impossible money. I mean, for $50 top, you can get a top Kydex holster. I mean, I got some,
absolutely. So
it's very affordable.
And a holster should follow the following minimum recommendations. It should snugly fit the gun and hold the gun properly, so that if you hold the gun in the holster in your hand and you shake it really hard because you're going to be running away from a bad guy, it should not come out of that holster. Now, there's many methods of retention, but we can go into that in another time. But it should hold the gun securely. It should completely surround the trigger guard so that no way can the trigger be depressed while it's inside the holster.
Exactly. So good. Now, we got a good foundation, good holster, right position. Now, let's start how to do it in the step-by-step, okay?
Okay.
And go ahead. You are the professor here.
The presentation has to start with a foundation of getting a good grasp of what we call a combat grip on the gun itself. So it's a little bit complicated, but it involves being able to remove the cover garment if it's concealed, or just getting to the gun with the support of the firing hand. So you have to be able to get to the gun right now in a secure, full grip. That means that your fingers alongside the gun, not anywhere near the trigger. Your grip is all the fingers possible on the grip of the frame. And you have to be in a position that you now have a secure hold on it. You can pull the gun and use it. Now, for some people, that removal of the garment might mean using the opposite support hand to lift the garment out of the way, or sweeping the garment out. But that's up for personal. It's a personal choice as to what kind of clothing you're wearing. So let's start with the first step: getting a good grip on the gun. This is a downward gripping motion that funnels your hand into the web of the firearm. We call this position 1.
Yes.
Now, what I teach in my classes at Apex is slightly different than what you're familiar with at Front Sight, Luca.
Okay.
Front Sight teaches a 5-step presentation.
Okay.
Well, this is the common step number 1. At Apex, we teach a 4-step presentation. It's very, very similar. All it really does is it combines steps 2 and 3.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, after position 1 is getting the gun in your hand, it's lifting the gun and twisting the gun forward, so that the arm is cocked into it's cocked into a tight position, but the gun is positioned very high to the chest and alongside the body.
Okay.
You could actually shoot from this position if you had to, if you were very close to your bad guy. But the idea here is that from the position 1 is grabbing the gun, position 2 is lifting it and pointing it downrange.
Okay.
If you need to shoot, you can shoot now.
Okay.
Position 3, I wanted to go back to number 1 here in a minute, but position 3 is then to join the support hand and the firing hand together on the gun in a grip. And we're going to proceed to push forward out towards the target from this point forward into our final position, position 4, into the firing position. And during that time, we can actually put our finger on the trigger. We can begin to develop pressure on the trigger to take out that 90% of the slack time. And if we needed to shoot at any time along the way, we could. But our goal is to get our arms outstretched into our final shooting position, bring the sights up to our line of sight. We don't want to hunch our head down to the sights. We want to bring the gun up into the sight line. And as we all come together at this final stopping position, we can then press the trigger or finish pressing the trigger and deliver your first shot.
Perfect.
Now it sounds hard to describe physically, or over the radio without actually seeing a video. But if you just think of it as step one is grabbing the gun, step two is lifting it and pointing it downrange, pivoting it. 3 is joining your hands, and then 4 is pushing forward out into the last firing position where you have the optimal sight picture and position and grip to shoot the gun.
Perfect. And also, the point is we have two options where we pretty much decide to bring our gun out of the holster. We can go on target or we can go present to the ready, because let's say, for example, we don't need to engage and we want just to give the last warning to something or somebody that we want to be ready in case the situation may de-escalate. Present to the ready is very important. So at that point, the final stage could be present to the ready or present to the target, correct?
Exactly, and that's an important distinction because we know from police reports and FBI crime data that many times more than shootings, a gun is used to stop a fight without ever firing a shot. We know from these numbers that people can present their gun to what we call the ready position or down at the feet of the attacker. It's usually an angle like a 45-degree angle. And hey, stop or I'll shoot with a very forceful big boy voice or big girl voice can deliver the message, hey, you picked on the wrong guy. Exactly. And the bad guy then can say, whoa, I picked on the wrong guy, I'm out of here, and they can back off and disengage.
Yes.
And when that happens, the imminent threat goes away, and you can't shoot them anyway, but then you call 911 and say, hey, I just had to use my firearm to defend myself. No shots were fired.
Perfect. This is very important. And you remind me something now. One of the first thing I was really impressed was when I went to my first class at Front Sight for the 4 days handgun class was the lecture about exactly, when to use deadly force and how to try to avoid it, and also how to try to de-escalate everything we can, because we don't want, our last resource is to use deadly force, but we want to try to avoid it. But at the same time, we need to be prepared. For example, now, I like the example that probably you're very familiar with. You are in the parking lot, and you are maybe a lady bringing your bags or whatever. You're just a guy, and you see this man that start to approach you, and maybe he doesn't look that right. All these tattoos on around his face, and doesn't mean nothing, but he start to look at you in a strange way. And then you start to see that there's something, maybe carrying something shiny in his pocket, and put his hands in hiding in his pockets. And then you start to see they start to try to talk to you, and there is different signals that you start to see. You can just say you want to pull your gun out and, hey, wait a second. That's kind of extreme. You need to give him some sort of a vocal warning. Maybe you don't want to talk to him. Maybe you need to stay away. So before even we go to touch the gun and to do this presentation that could be to the target or to the to the ready, we have also, I like the fact, remember the example they used to explain pretty much, you put your hands forward you and say, stop right there. You remember that type of example they do in the class?
Sure. And that's a really good distinction. And it's important to remember, too, there is a fine line between brandishing a firearm and using a firearm to stop a crime.
Exactly.
And in Arizona, it's a fine line. You're not allowed to show that gun or present that gun or threaten somebody with that gun unless you're authorized to use it in the first place.
Exactly.
So if you see somebody in a parking lot you don't like, you can't just pull out your gun and say, get out of my face.
Exactly.
What you can do is, at the point that you have the imminent threat with the motive and the means to cause you serious bodily harm or death, that is the moment you can pull that gun out and say, stop or I'll shoot. Or you can pull out the gun and shoot somebody. It's once you have that use of force authorization, where 12 reasonable people would feel that you were justified, that's the moment you can brandish that gun. If you don't do that right, you can definitely go to jail for assault.
Exactly.
So, it's an important distinction. It's one of the things we talk about in our 4-hour class. Our 4-hour class is, we don't even talk about guns. We talk about the laws and how to apply them so that you don't do something wrong. It's a very important part of the process, long before you even go learn how to shoot. Can we go back to that presentation for a second, Luca?
Yes, please, go ahead.
I wanted to go back to the first part of the presentation, because once we understand the 4 or 5 steps in order to get the gun into action, most people have a hard time realizing, because they're concentrating so much on their shooting hand and the gun and all the mechanics involved of keeping their finger off the trigger and all those safety things, they forget about the other hand. The other hand is vital, and it's part of this process, and we want to use it in the presentation to make your presentation safer and faster. At the position 1 where you reach and grab your gun, it's very important for your support hand to be firmly placed against your stomach or your lower chest. Now, people think it's kind of goofy because they've never seen Clint Eastwood do it in the Western, but it's really important for a couple of reasons. One, it gives balance to the body so your body can move faster.
Yes.
Number 2, it gives your hand a place to be instead of wandering out in space in front of your body. Now, that's important, because when we get that gun up out of the holster and pointed down range, you do not want to be muzzling your own other hand.
Exactly. I'm glad you reminded that, because that was very important to spell it out. You know, you're right.
It's very, very important, and I brought that up because last week I had a very close friend. We just went to the range together, and he's had training. He's been to front sight, but he was a little bit lazy with that support hand, and it was wandering about 5 or 6 or 7 inches in front of his chest. And I had to remind him, hey, don't forget to keep that hand in close. You don't want to muzzle yourself. And it's just one of the basics, but it's so important to always harp on the fundamentals. The more we can ingrain this into our muscle memory, the more chance you have of using it properly if you ever have to.
Perfect. Now, I'm pretty much ready for some commercials here, and I was going to touch, after this segment, the after-action drill. I don't know if you have an extra 10 minutes to talk about that.
I'd love to.
Perfect. So let me do that, guys. Don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. And I'll see you in a few seconds after this, and we'll talk about after-action drills. And if you don't know what it is, you will find out soon. Don't go away.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Luca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Luca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really click.
Okay, we are back, and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on KTOX 1340 AM and also on UnitedStates.fm network. Now, we are here with Luca Zanna, myself, the guy with the accent and poor grammar most of the time, but I'm getting better, I guess. And also we have the pro, Jim Liesen from Apex Firearms from Lake Havasu. So now, Jim, we talk just right now about the presentation, how to introduce the gun, your handgun, into a fight, or maybe try to avoid a fight. Now, the second topic I want to try to talk today here on this episode of Love, Guns, and Freedom, second hour about guns, it's about the after-action drills. And I see that when I go to the range, 99.9% of the people have no idea what it is about. And they think, okay, I just shot my rounds. Let me stare at the target for a few more seconds. Oh, cool. I hit it. I'm so great. And now everything's back to peace. That's not the way we should train, because in real life situation, tell us exactly what is this after action drill and why it's so important.
Well, that's another great topic and very important as well, Luca, because just like the other topic, people go to the range because it's fun, it's therapeutic, it's recreational, it's target shooting, but that's not the same as self-defense and self-defense training. And the presentation is a good example. We talked about that in the last segment, of course, but most indoor shooting ranges will not allow you to practice that because they don't want you to pull a gun out of a holster in those shooting bays. So when we go out to the shooting range, we see people practicing things that they're not familiar with and that sort of thing. And you're right, the same thing on after-action drills. An after-action drill, all it really means is that we're doing this drill, and we do it repetitively so that if we ever got into a gunfight, we would then do it naturally. And here's what happens. If you're ever involved in a fight or a gunfight, afterwards, your adrenaline has just been pumped into your system. Your tunnel vision has taken over. The loss of fine motor skills in your fingers will probably go away. And you're going to be fixated on what you just did, which is shooting a bad guy. Mm-hmm. It's very, very important because we all know that bad guys travel in packs just like wolves do.
Yeah.
It's very possible that since you just shot JoJo the Crackhead, and I'm sorry if somebody's named JoJo or you're a crackhead, but that's just a nickname we use in class. Yeah. If you just shot JoJo the Crackhead, you may be so focused on this once-in-a-lifetime, life-threatening event that you may not see JoJo's buddy with a crowbar about to hit you over the head. You may not see his other buddy with a gun aiming it at you from a different location. So what we want to do with an after-action drill is ingrain our brain, our subconscious brain, to look around after the shoot.
Exactly.
We want to break away from that tunnel vision, and the way we do it, we go bang, bang, and after we're done shooting, we want to do a quick check over both shoulders because we want to see around us. Then we want to go make sure the bad guy's really down and is he out? Is he out of the fight? And then after we're sure of that, then we want to take a scan of everything in our world at that moment. Now, when you're out in the world and this happens, that means you'd look everywhere. You'd make a full circle as slow as it takes because your brain is racing, your adrenaline is racing through your system. You're going to look at everything from the horizon down to the ground behind every place a human being could be hiding. If in fact, you're not stuck because you didn't run to cover or something like that.
Yeah.
So this process is important. And on the range, there's a few ways to do it because we couldn't, on a range, we couldn't really have people spinning around in circles with loaded guns. You can imagine the mayhem that would cause for the range master.
Exactly. And you were saying something very important, the idea also is to find cover, to take cover, because let's say we have a chance, the fight, pretty much the bad guy is on the ground. You don't want to stay there, No, I'm trying to get out of Dodge. It's funny you mention that because I just had this discussion last week in a class. We had a great class Tuesday night. And somebody mentioned the difference between police and military. And I told him, I said, it happens on the range all the time. When I train Marines, they want to shoot and run to the target. Yeah. That's what they do. That's what they attack. They go forward and shoot things. Yeah. And the police officers are trying to figure out if they should use their taser, their pepper spray, their stick, or their gun, because they're trying to effect an arrest. Civilians, that's us, we're trying to shoot and get to cover. We're trying to get out of the problem. We're not trying to, we're not in the movies, but we're not John Wayne. We're trying to defend our lives and get out of trouble. So we're going to shoot and we're going to get out of Dodge, I like to say. We're going to find cover and or concealment, and from there we're going to do all this after-action stuff. And speaking about that, when you can do safely, of course, also on the range, at least the ranges allow you to do it, to do an after-action drill in a way that you do not muzzle who is behind you. You can have this sort of rotation 180 degree left and right somehow, at least with and keeping your gun. There are two basic positions that you can keep your gun safe when you're doing the after action drill. One is, of course, with the gun down to the ready, and the other one is called the sur position. Correct me if I'm wrong. So pretty much we can do that, I think, in many ranges if we do it correctly without bringing the gun behind the firing line. We can still do it, or at least we should be able to do it.
Absolutely, and you hit the nail on the head. You don't have to make yourself go around in circles. You don't have to run to cover. What we have to do is train our bodies and our minds. A step to the one side suffices for training your body to move.
Yes.
You want to move out of the line of fire. So just taking a step makes a huge difference. The glancing over the shoulder and the scan back and forth, maybe 20 or 30 degrees left, 20 or 30 degrees to the right, that's enough to help train your brain to break the focus of tunnel vision.
Exactly. And you know, one thing I tell you, Jim, I fell myself into the trap at the beginning. That's okay, I know I have to do the after action drill. Now it looks too funny. No, I force myself after I finish every session of shooting. If it's my whatever shooting I'm doing, as I finish my shooting session, I mean my shooting, the type of exercise, let's say I'm doing like a control pair, okay, from the holster, boom. I don't care how many times I do that. Every time I will complete my session or my specific exercise with an after action drill, because I realize if I don't do that, my brain under stress is not going to perform it. It's something that I spent some time the bad way, tried to learn it, and I realized that I wasn't doing enough. So I know it sounds funny sometimes. You go to the range, they look at you, oh my God, what's he doing, this guy? You know, every time he shoots, he has to do this sort of a dance, but that's what I do, you know.
Well, you know, that's good. And when I answer that question, when people ask, what are you doing that for?
Yeah.
It's like, well, because I'm training and I'm using a drill so that I can save money on ammo and get better to prepare to save my own life.
Exactly. Another thing, I also finalize also after my after action drill, since I'm supposed to, I see that the fight is over supposedly, and I'm bringing my gun, a handgun, back into my holster. I always want to stress that it's a slow movement to bring it back in. Fast as you can to bring it out, but very slow to bring it in. And before I put my gun back into my holster, I don't care if I shot 1 round or 50 rounds. I want to complete my session with a tactical reload.
Well, that's exactly right, because you just hit on 2 very important points, the drill of going back into the holster and the tactical reload. The reason we do a tactical, we call it tactical because it's a strategy. If you go bang, 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 you have shot some of your ammunition, and you may be out of the fight. But you may be going into part 2 of the fight in a moment. You don't know yet. So if there is a lull, if there's a lull in the gunfight, as we like to say, it's a perfect time to top off your gun. It's a perfect time to say, you know, I don't see any action right now, but I may in the future, so I'm going to take my magazine out, I'm going to refresh it with my other spare magazine, so that if part 2 happens, I'm fully loaded.
Perfect. So guys, today we had a lot of good information. Seriously, the purpose of the show, you know, I don't know everything, but I try to learn as much as I can, and more important, I try to share as much as I can with you guys. This is an opportunity I've been given to share this information on the internet, on the airwaves, and you know, we have a big responsibility as a gun owners. I'm talking about law-abiding citizens and gun owners. I'm not talking about scumbags out there. We have the duty to be prepared, to be ready, and to be above the average. That's for sure. At least to commit ourselves to be the best we can be. So my only thing I'm trying to accomplish here, to give you some curiosity through this radio show. This is not going to be substituting a lesson, of course, but at least to understand the things that we do not know, okay? And then find whatever way you can afford the right training. If you want to buy videos, books, or I would love if you live in Mojave County, give a call to Jim Liesen, that would be great. Or if you want to go to front side, gun site, I don't care. Okay? I don't even get paid. I want to just do, my goal here is to give you the opportunity to be the best we can be. And you know, this is not just because I'm a saint. I really am a selfish person in this area too, because I would like to, first of all, think that in our society, it's a safer society. So if we have a lot of good people out there with guns, we're all safer. So, okay? And I think it's a normal thing. Don't you think, Jim? Is it not a bad thing to wish? Don't you think? I mean,
no, it's a great goal, and I recommend the same thing. If you don't get trained by me or Front Sight, get trained by somebody that's of quality. You don't want to go to somebody that's had guns shooting off in their classroom. You don't want to go to places that have had problems. You want to go to somebody reputable that knows their stuff, and that they use curriculum that works. NRA curriculum, the United States Concealed Carry Association curriculum. You don't want to go to some place that you're just hearing war stories about being a super cop somewhere in the big city. You want to get some quality information, and you want to get some training somewhere, because carrying a gun is a serious business. It takes a lot of responsibility, and just because you're allowed to carry one without a permit doesn't mean you should if you don't know the way the rules work. You know, I like to use in the class the case of George Zimmerman. You remember George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, before his first day in court, his legal bills were $305,000.
Oh my gosh.
Before his first day in court. So doing something with a firearm is very costly if you do something wrong. And I would just urge anybody and everybody, learn the differences between target shooting, self-defense shooting, sport shooting, hundreds of different methods to use a gun. But it's kind of it's a newbie mistake to think that if you could just go to the range and blast a bunch of ammo, that you know how to shoot in relation to a self-defense situation.
Exactly. So listen, guys, this is pretty much the mission today. We talk about how to present the gun into a fight, and also how to pretty much do the after-action drills, at least how to understand what you should do, okay? Now, before we close, this is going to be, now we're going to go into hour number 3 pretty soon. This is still the hour of guns. A couple news, just because I wanted to close with that. Bill, did you hear about, Jim, did you hear about the bill, House bill? Democrats, they tried to push a bill pretty much that now they want to ban the sales of the ammo online. Did you hear about this? Is it?
Yeah, I chuckle, but I cry at the same time. These people will stop at nothing. These people have decided that they know they're going to have a hard time taking away the guns. So they're trying to make it very complicated and difficult to buy ammunition to feed your gun.
Yeah.
And they're using every chance and possibility they have, because they know that the time is short for the current legislative session, and of course with Obama on his way out in only 14 and a half months now. I don't know, I can't wait. But the problem with it is they're very sneaky. They say things like, well, this will keep ammo out of the hands of bad guys. Well, what's that technique? Oh, well, we're going to make sure that everybody that sells ammo has a log of who bought it, and you have to show ID to buy ammo, because only good people should be buying ammo, and nobody would mind giving ID up if you're going to buy bulk ammo. Well, what's the definition of bulk ammo? Well, more than a couple of boxes.
Yeah, I got it.
Most people that shoot and shoot recreationally or for practicing and training, they'll buy hundreds of rounds of ammunition, and they'll shoot it in a weekend in a training class. Oh, well, what about the different kinds of ammo? Oh, yeah, we got to regulate that, too. We want to make sure we get a database and a list of everybody that sells it. And, oh, my gosh, if you want to buy it online, we're going to have rules to regulate that for the safety of people. Well, you know what? It's never been a safety problem for 100 years.
No, this is a control problem, and we know exactly what they're trying to do. And let me tell you a little bit what happened already in Europe, okay, at least Italy, where I used to be I used to be from there. In Italy, everything over 200 rounds, you must have, of course, a permit, and it's illegal. Okay, you cannot have more than a certain amount of rounds. Okay, and of course, the Second Amendment doesn't exist. It's just for sport purposes, and it's just some limited type of calibers. You cannot have, for example, calibers that they are owned by the police, for example. So the bottom line is, guys, this is a complete control. It's complete fascism, as simple as that. And for me, this is the point. People say, oh, it's not going to happen. Guess what? Even Obamacare is supposed not to happen. The fact that these bastards, they try every time they can, like, for example, let's spell it out, the name, Representative Bonnie Watson from New Jersey. She should stay in New Jersey, mind the New Jersey business, and leave us alone, okay? I will become, I don't care what type of federal law, I hope it's not going to happen, but I want to say this on the record, I will break the law every time I can. I'm not going to buy any ammunition with a permit or with an ID. More important, guys, think about it. If you still think that, oh, I can buy my ammunition at the local shop, guess what? That's your choice. Maybe I want to save money. Maybe I want to still be a free human being, free American. I want to buy my ammunition in every of the 50 states of this union. That's the bottom line, okay? I'm not buying anything that is not, I'm not buying a nuke. I'm buying just regular ammunition. So I don't want to hear about this. But we got to be concerned and start to think that this can happen. You never know when it can happen. So the bill in question, even people say, okay, this is just in New Jersey, that this is a federal bill they're trying to pass. It's called Stop Online Ammunition Sales Act of 2015, Representative Bonnie Watson. And wherever you are, call your congressman and tell him that you better be careful that if he ever is going to vote for something like this, it's done. Okay, simple. There is no compromise on this, in my opinion. So
I agree.
This is very important. That's why also the purpose of the show is not just to learn how to shoot, but how to pretty much defend our right to shoot. That's the bottom line, you know. So that's
well, and here's how stupid this law is, Luca.
Yes.
And you already know this too. If you go to your local Walmart or gun shop and buy a box of ammo under this proposal that they're talking about, there's no tracking. The idea is to track the larger sales of ammo. Well, that's the dumbest thing anybody's ever heard of, because if you want to go buy 1,000 rounds, you'll go to the gun shop 10 days in a row and buy 100 rounds at a time.
Yeah.
In order to avoid being labeled or put on a government list of some kind. Well, that defeats the entire purpose of the entire bill, and everybody knows it. So for this to work, they're going to have to make all ammunition a registered issue. And America won't stand for that. America will just scoff at that idea, and that'll be a very bad decision for them legislatively to even attempt to do. But I don't see them not doing it. I see them running this thing just like every other political trial balloon, just to see what the temperature is. And I agree. This is the time to call your senator and your representative and say, I will become a felon if this is the case.
Exactly. And by the way, New York already happened this. You know, nobody's following this law, but it's already happening. They already have a state law that pretty much you must register your guns. Excuse me, your ammunition. So this is the plan, guys. Okay, and they will try.
And hundreds of thousands of people in New York are actively not complying.
Exactly. So they will try, though. They will try. And next thing is going to be a complete registration of every ammunition you have. So don't underestimate this rat. Okay, this is the point. It's just they start always with something that maybe not everybody is concerned, and then we're all going to be concerned. The last thing before we close, I want to give a shared this opportunity for, you know, sometimes I hear that times are tough, the economy is tough, and you know, people are waking up now, they want to have a gun. You know, I'm not here to push anything, because I'm not even trying to advertise anything. I want just to share what I learned and what I have. If you're low on budget, guys, and you need your first gun, and you cannot wait maybe the next paycheck to get something more you know, ideal, as I would say, there is out there High Point handguns. I mean, you ever heard about that High Point?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have a 9mm and I have a 45. They are not, of course, my main guns. They are just there, you know, in case somebody one day needs an extra gun. But let's say in this way, for about $150, $150, you can get a US-made 45 bulk like a brick, but it's made of steel and it shoots every time you pull the trigger, at least for me, when you use the regular full metal jacket. And for $150, guys, at the end of the day, if that's all you can afford, there is no excuse. You can get your gun overnight. Okay, that's pretty much what I wanted to share. You know, you don't need to be rich. If you're serious about it, at the end of the day, your training, it will make the difference. It's better to have an High Point 45, they have nothing, or maybe wait an extra 2 months for your next paycheck. That's pretty much what I wanted to share. Anything you want to add about this High Point 45 handgun?
Well, you make a good point, because there's several kinds of guns. There's cheap ones, there's middle-of-the-line ones, and then there's expensive ones. And I'd rather have somebody have one than not have one.
Yeah.
Now that said, you do need to have a minimum performance standard, whatever it is. You know, if it has to work, if it's for self-defense, it has to work. It has to be extremely dependable and safe to use. My only opinion on the High Points is it's one of those get what you pay for kind of things, but they're very robust. They're made of a lot of metal, and they're nice and heavy, which actually is good for training. It's easy to shoot because the recoil is absorbed in the gun most of the time.
Worst case scenario, you always have a brick in your hand. Okay, I mean, you can always, as a club, you can use it.
Oh yeah, definitely. You can hammer nails with that thing if you have to, because it's so heavy. But heavy's good for training, because especially if you have new shooters or young shooters or small shooters, sometimes they're very adverse to recoil when they get started, and it's a great starter gun for that purpose.
Exactly. So another thing also, guys, if you ever choose that gun, you cannot wait. You know, I always say, my opinion, spend more now and spend less in the future, especially when it's a handgun. It's going to last your lifetime. I mean, get a Glock, $500, you're never going to get wrong. But that's the point, you know, sometimes people say, hey, that's all I have, fine. But get a good dedicated holster. Okay, we were talking about before the beginning. Don't get one of these floppy Velcro holster. I don't care if the gun is not that expensive. You still deserve, you still need, and it's good for safety to have a very dedicated Kydex or leather holster. So, but at the point, guys, is High Point. Also, another thing I like about this company, they give you lifetime warranty. I saw things like people doing torture tests, you know, and things break. Call the company, send it back, they fix it for you, or they replace it. No question asked. I was pretty impressed.
Terrific.
That was pretty good. For $150, you can get wrong. So, guys, I don't care what you buy. As I said, I'm not getting paid by High Point, but I was thinking about a few emails the last few days I received. People, they woke up recently and they never really thought they needed a gun. And now the blue say, oh my God, things are happening. Ferguson and all these different type of riots. I need to have a gun now. I can't wait for the next paycheck. Say, guys, they ask me an opinion. I say, I say use your credit card and put something that like a Glock or whatever you think it's about $500-600. But people say I don't have a credit card. That's fine. You must find $150. You can find that money, and they can.
You bring up a point. If you have to have a gun and you don't have a lot of money, every gun shop I've ever been in has an old used shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be a 12-gauge Mossberg 500. It could be an old Ithaca or an old Mossberg or an old Stevens made by Sears and Roebuck from the 50s. It's going to be almost the same kind of gun. And it can be in 20-gauge or 12-gauge. If you had to have a gun, most of the time you can walk into any gun shop in America and find a shotgun for $150 to $200.
Yes. And the point,
and it may not be tactical. It may not have black plastic on it, but it has probably been around longer than we have, Luca, and it's probably going to be around longer than we will, and it will probably continue to work, and it's always worth the same amount of money you put into it.
Exactly. And my point, there are options out there. Of course, sometimes the handgun is something people want to carry in a little more concealed way, but yeah, the shotgun is a great alternative, also as a budget. And talking about High Point, another thing I really like about those, if you get a 45 handgun for $150, you should consider, if you're on a budget, to get also the carabine, the 45. They pretty much also you can swap magazines. You can use the same magazine. I have both. I have the 45 carabine, and I tell you, it works. I never had any problem. All I have to use is full metal jacket, 45, even the typical Wolf, the cheap, steel cases. They work great. And to have some sort of a basic package between a carabine and handgun, less than $500 together, yeah. I think that's a good package to start, and you can train with that. You can have a lot of good training also with those two situations. So
I agree. That carbine is actually a pretty robust gun too. I had a chance to shoot one not too long ago, and I was very surprised. It was very handy.
Never a problem with those. So guys, listen, Jim, thank you very much. Say one more time, please, your website or wherever people can reach you. That was
thank you. Thank you for having me again. My name is Jim Liesen. I'm from Apex Arms, and you can find us online on Facebook at Apex Arms or apexarmsaz.com.
Perfect. And you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Be ready for our number 3, because today I'm going to talk about love and also some serenades. By the way, Jim, did you like my little serenade to the Obamanoids?
Oh, I sure did. That was just so wonderful. The liltiness of the voice, the melody was so perfect with those words.
Perfect. Okay, I'll do another one probably next hour. Thank you very much. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Trying to kill, they eat off this plate, but all they feel is just hate. They hide in the dark, from within they attack. The enemies within, they look like just you and me. The enemy. Change our creeds. They swear on something they don't believe. And they want to erase our borders. They want to change our lives. They're here to divide. They're already inside. The enemy. We're not afraid of you, because in God we trust. For America, we are ready to fight. For America, we are ready to die.
Okay, that was the song, The Enemy Within, music and lyrics by myself, Luca Zanna. As I already told you many times, this show is an act of love, and I do not rely on corporate sponsors, not because I don't like them. I mean, if somebody wants to sponsor the show, that's great. But I always want to put the truth before the sponsor. Sometimes sponsors, they try to control also your message, or maybe sometimes you need to do compromises. There are things you can talk or cannot talk, because some sponsors don't want to be associated with very, sometimes, let's say, controversial topics. I'm not here to be politically correct. I'm here to try to share what I believe it is the truth, okay? Sometimes I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm the first one to apologize. But the point is, I'm not here to try to masquerade or try to change the facts when I know what's going on. Now, if you want to support the show, I said many times, there's a simple way. And all you need to do, you can afford 99 cents. For example, with just 99 cents, you can download any of my songs, like the song I just played for you, The Enemies Within, and you can go to my website, www.zanna.us. Also want to remind you, if you want, you can go to my other website. I also, like to paint. Mostly, I like to write songs, but I like to express myself in every way I can. So, for example, if you go to my Zanna, ZANNA, art.com, you can see also some of my paintings. And I want to remind you that I have a very unique technique that pretty much I come out and I put my brush into the barrel of my gun. Of course, my gun is empty and there are no ammunition in the room, so I always follow my little procedure. Why am I doing this? Why are you painting with your Glock? It's to make a philosophical point, Many people out there in this anti-gun rights movement, in these control freaks people, they like to think the guns are very evil objects, that they can become almost animated and they become assaulting people. They're assault weapon. No, the guns, they're just like a hammer. With a hammer, you can pretty much build a house or you can destroy somebody's skull. Okay, same thing with a gun. For me, the gun is not just to kill. No, I always say the gun is to save a life. And also with a gun, I can create beautiful things. I can paint. Think about it. I can stick in the barrel of my Glock 17 a beautiful brush, and with that Glock, I use it as a tool, like an extension of my soul, an extension of my hands, and I do my paintings. If you're curious to see some of my paintings, go to zannaart.com. And the beautiful thing about it that, I have a very unique way to sell my paintings. You make an offer, and if I like the offer, you're more than welcome to get it. Guys, this is pretty much what it's about. This is not just about money. Of course, we need money. I'm for free market. I'm consider myself sort of a capitalistic free market mind. Okay, I believe that the individual, differently from the government, we earn our money when we're able to sell or produce a product that somebody is willing to pay. The government doesn't produce anything. All they do is they force you to pay. Simple as that. Or if they want to force you something, it's called monopoly, or it's called, for example, Obamacare. They force you to buy for something. Simple as that. So, no, this show is an act of love, is an act of freedom. I'm here because of your help and your support. Now, before we go ahead, I want just to finish with one thing. Today we talk about, of course, these techniques with Jim Liesen, great guy. I really like him a lot. And also we talk about affordable guns, okay? Don't forget, after all, the gun is just an extension of your will to survive, okay? I don't care what type of gun you have. The bottom line, first of all, you must decide that you want to win, you want to survive. And more important than, of course, training. Whatever gun you have, use it and be sure that you know how to use it. Okay, you can have the most expensive rifle out there, but if you don't practice with that, if you're not able to perform correctly, not going to help you. And mindset, it's vital. Okay, I don't care if you have like a Mosin Nagant, old 100 years old rifle, bolt action, but if you're willing to defend your life and to defend your freedom, that Mosin Nagant in the expert hands can be more powerful than many other modern rifles out there. Now, I like to talk about things, I like always to find places where people can pretty much enjoy our rights, in this case the Second Amendment. And I want just to let you know, on one of my other sites, freedomlovers.us, it is a community I'm trying to create. It's not just for singles who want to pretty much find each other, but also to share ideas. There is a great section for blogs and also for ads. You can sell or buy whatever you want. Try to keep it legal, please, okay? So go to freedomlovers.us, open an account, and if you have, for example, something that you would like to share, like products, use things, go ahead, okay? And use it. That's pretty much the idea. Now, the last thing before we close, I want to just let you know that now we're going for hour number 3, and it's going to be about love and about friends and about what we can do pretty much to regenerate ourselves, and also a little bit of news, because I think it's important to mix and relax, listening to this news or what's going on and what happened the last few days and what's going to happen the next few days, and have a little bit of a downtime, relax a little bit while we try to pretty much recharge for another day. Don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca, Zanna.
Hell